Well, states across the country hold legislative sessions to vote on new laws. Gender-affirming care is being targeted in several states, especially when it comes to transgender youth. But here in Nevada, there are two bills this session that are hoping to move gender-affirming care forward in our state. Fox 5's Kim Passoff explains.
It can be really difficult for members of our community who are transgender and gender nonconforming to access that medical care sometimes.
Wes Jewell, Director of Communications for ACLU of Nevada, says right now private health insurance companies in our state don't always cover gender-affirming care. Senate Bill 163 would require them to.
I've known so many of my friends and colleagues personally who have had to bend over backwards looking for any little loophole they can find to get the treatments that they need under their current insurance plans. And it just shouldn't be that way.
We look at, insurance all the time and, nothing's ever really covered.
The Henderson Equality Center says they would like to see that change with the passage of the bill.
When you don't have insurance to cover this, the out-of-pocket expenses are very, very, astronomical.
The second gender-affirming care bill, Senate Bill 153. It would update care guidelines for transgender incarcerated persons in Nevada.
There's this thing at the Department of Corrections they call the freeze frame policy, which is basically if you're not already receiving some forms of gender-affirming care, things like hormone replacement therapy, then once you're incarcerated within the Department of Corrections, you will not be able to access those services at all.
The ACLU particularly concerned about gender-affirming care in Nevada's prison system because transgender people disproportionately face incarceration. And some realize their gender identity in lockup.
People who are often removed from their daily lives and sent to this kind of setting oftentimes realize a lot of things about themselves. And one of those things very frequently is gender identity.
The Henderson Equality Center is glad to see two bills moving gender-affirming care forward in Nevada when other states are moving to restrict care, especially for trans youth.
We are becoming more of a progressive state, making sure that, we are passing more legislation for the LGBT community and giving, Nevada a safe haven for those that, are suffering in other states with legislation going on, that, they're welcome here.
Kim Passoff, Fox 5 News, local, Las Vegas.
Our thanks to Kim. The Henderson Equality Center tells Fox 5 that demand there has been so strong that they plan to open another center this Saturday in North Las Vegas. That new center will be located at the corner of Centennial Parkway and North Pecos.